is Tuesday, the 9th of December. How many? I think it's 9 or maybe 10 trading days left till Christmas. It must be 9. You join myself and the amazing goddess of grain herself, Angie, where Angie will be providing us with a rapid roundup of the latest pricing flows and market moving news in grain markets. But before she does, your friendly reminder that this is recorded live and there's no editing. Expect trigger words, occasional expletives, occasional random tangents about, whatever. But the aim of the game is to put a smile on your face, give you a bit of value, and hopefully tee you up for a good trading session ahead. As usual, no endorsements, no trading advice, etc., etc. Angie, my love, how are you?
I'm super. I'm actually quite
Fantastic.
disgruntled today, and I don't know why. Like, do you ever just feel like
I know why. I know why.
sometimes? What? Why?
Because I've sent you a picture on WhatsApp just before the start of this,
Right,
and me in the pub.
exactly. I want to be at the pub drinking ale or whatever. So
Exactly. I'm
that's
definitely not throwing shrimp on the Barbie as what you sent to me on the phone just now.
I will forever be happy
You're
to be
about 20,000 miles out.
I don't care. Same thing. Doesn't matter. We fought a war, so I don't have to learn it. That's what Happy Tuesday. I'm glad to be back. But like I said, I'm just only mildly disgruntled today. Like I feel like I'm gonna need to get Botox in my WTF lines in my brow pretty soon because they getting deep. I just noticed that the other day. I'm like, I'm gonna need some filler or something. But anyway, headline wise, market wise, all of those things, like what we're paying attention to today. Obviously, we have a USDA report out here later this morning around 11 o'clock or so. Well, around 11 o'clock or so. Like it's a like it's at noon
Random.
time. Yeah, like whenever they feel like it, which actually sometimes can be the case. I hadn't pulled up yet. Oh, there it is. Just kind of what traders were expecting. To be completely honest, the December report is typically a non-event. We tend to have them. They don't update production first off here in the US. So a lot of folks have kind of been like, oh, they couldn't. No, they're not going to increase production. They don't update it. It's the NAS leaves it alone. And typically you don't see big adjustments ahead of a quarterly stocks number. So in another month, we're going to get December 1st quarterly stocks out with the January data. And, a lot of times they just kind of will slow roll it. And I don't know how we handle it with, the information that we have as we're kind of still getting export sales. Like we can't be getting current week data for some reason as they catch up. Like they're slow rolling all of it. And so, I don't know what that means for the updates, but really going into today, traders are anticipating corn carryout to come down around 30 million bushels. That's probably I shouldn't say that's probably, that is coming from an increase in ethanol, most likely, maybe an increase in exports. I don't know, but ethanol might be a push. Maybe they're expecting an increase in exports. I don't know. They're expecting carryout to come down 30 million bushel. You've got soybean carryout expected to increase a bit. And so we'll see. I don't know. They're anticipating a bit in the way of a reduction to demand, obviously. And in wheat, our export sales have been so strong here through the first couple of quarters of the marketing year. There's a thought we could see an increase in export sales projection and a decrease in wheat carryout around 10 million bushels from last month. So overall, pretty much a non-event expected, a little bit of a trim to corn carryout expected, soybean carryout expected to grow just a little bit, wheat carryout expected to also grow, and so we'll see what the USDA has up their sleeves this afternoon or at midday. And that'll be one of our bigger focuses for a while, or at the very least, it's kind of the last piece of well, in a normal year, that would be the last piece of like news that we'd be paying attention to, but obviously we're still getting the export sales data, which to me is super important simply because we're seeing like corn export sales are up almost 70%, shipment wise, corn export shipments are up almost 70% versus a year ago. Like you're seeing export sales pace continue very, very strongly, and the US kind of remains the best supplier in the world of high quality corn that can be shipped. And so we're kind of watching to see all of this stuff, see what the numbers say today, and then we'll kind of work to get the data in as we go. Other than that, we did get an announcement on the Trump bailout package, or an announcement of an announcement. We have the concepts of a plan. Again, like we're working on it.
We have the broad agenda for another meeting about a meeting.
That's just it. Like, stay tuned for an email to follow up on this. But basically, they're going to put out about $11 billion in funding It's coming from the Commodity Credit Corporation out of the OBB. Yeah, you know me. And I missed that. Those were good times. But that's what they're going to kind of put that out there. The farmers have, it's not tied to crop insurance this time. So they basically have, if they haven't certified already, which like 98% of farmers or whatever do crop insurance things, if they haven't certified already, they have until the 19th to correct their data. And then they're supposed to announce by the end of the month what the payment rates will be. But some folks smarter than me kind of did some of the arithmetic already. And from the looks of it, it's going to be at max probably around $50 an acre, I would guess, on the higher side, give or take. And so it's not coming out until the end of February. So couple things in that. First things first, the majority of farmer cash flow needs are taking place between now and the end of January. So the end of February is super, but kind of a lot too late in that
Right.
regard. We have some major issues right now. Like I have folks that'll reach out or that I've heard of. I talk to a lot of bankers, that there are farmers out there that are
with a B, with a B.
What? Sorry?
Did you say bankers?
Bankers. Yes, not wankers. To be
right, got you.
Yeah.
Just need to double check.
For some, it could be one and the same, but in this instance here, we're just going to say bankers with a B.
With a B.
And yeah, I mean, the conversations that I'm having with them are kind of scary in some regards. Like there are folks out there, there are farmers out there that as we work our way into the end of the year are going to discover that the bank that they have been working with is not going to help them farm next year. Like
Right.
there are people coming to the end. They have burnt through as much cash as they can. I just talked to someone yesterday, a customer. He's like, it's really not that bad. I'm only losing around $25,000 a year. So you're working, mind you, a 50-hour, 60-hour job plus
To
a
lose.
week to lose $25K. Like,
And you consider that not that bad?
And yes, exactly. And so I'm not going to say that a payment isn't going to help bridge that gap. I hate because that's what they're calling it, is a bridge payment, but it's just not, it's just going to be what it is going to be. It's not going to influence farmer marketing. Like a lot of folks want to be like, oh, well, the farmers are going to hold on to their bushels now that they know this payment's coming. No, they're not. They don't even know what the effing payment's going to be. First off, secondly, it's not going to be in their account until the middle of March at the earliest, if they're lucky, maybe the first week of March, but the funds aren't going to be released until the end of February. And so this whole idea that this is, going to get us to the golden age of agriculture is a joke. We're being gaslit. And that's probably where the majority of my anger is coming from this morning. But otherwise, we had another update. Argentina, I'm just moving on because I don't want to get on a soapbox.
Right.
Argentina adjusted their export taxes. That was announced this morning. Everyone knee-jerk reacted, went back to the, my God, we gave them billions of dollars sort of thing. Argentina, Milei has said all along that he was going to try to do away with these export taxes. Like that's been part of why the farmer side of things really liked him. And honestly, it's the only thing that works to generate farmer selling anymore.
Right.
But to do this today, I wouldn't get my panties wadded by any means, simply because we're talking 22 cents on soybeans, 11 cents on wheat, and 5 cents on corn from an improvement sort of standpoint. And so I'm not going to say 22 cents isn't, anything to sniff at. Like a 22-cent bump in soybean price is super duper and all. But, you have to remember that the farmer is not selling in Argentina because they're for one, they covered the majority of their cash flow needs when the export tax stuff went away completely. Because remember, we had a whole entire export tax holiday. Secondly, they don't know what their new crop's going to look like. Like if you're paying attention to some of Argentina's more primary corn producing areas, like they're experiencing some pretty deep La Nina type effects. They're dry. They've been wet up until, they're carrying a decent soil moisture surplus, or they were, but that's something to pay attention to, obviously. And the longer of a stretch you go without rain as a farmer, the harder it gets, the harder it gets to, English is my second language today.
Australian is your first.
Right? To let it go. You know what I mean? Like the more concerned you are about new crop, the more you have to, Jerry Maguire, show me the money in order to get these beans spread out of our hands. And so a lot of folks are really overly excited about, this change in export tax and some of that stuff. And is it going to amount to a whole lot of anything? Not really. And you're seeing some pretty interesting squeezes going on in the physical market there, because you had a lot of folks really kind of jump the gun and sell into this export market without having ownership from the farmer. And, basically the farmer's a little disgruntled about that anyway. And Argentina, they're just built different down there. You know what I mean? And so it's interesting to watch this whole thing play out, but I wouldn't really put a whole lot of stock into this reduction in the tax or into the idea that this is going to like flood the market or whatever. They
Right.
already have they have already made the commitments to sell the bushels, like they just don't have the ownership. So this isn't really going to change a whole lot. This is just trying to entice movement into the domestic pipeline.
Got
Lastly, I wrote down Black Sea stuff, because that's in depth, all of that.
To be honest, that's a decent term because there's a lot of stuff happening, and it's like you said, it's there's a lot of stuff happening. It's some of those is like it's not going to be important until it's really important. That's what it kind of feels like. The market's happy to ignore it until it'll be too late to ignore it.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's what that's what we're seeing overall to me, is like there's some news, there's some underlying things here where I think there's some true concern that the Trump administration, and I have to be careful, like concern depends on who you are.
Yeah, right.
There's some concern amongst the European crowd and, the Ukrainian crowd and some of that basically we're just going to usher in this 28-point plan, or, at the very least, like Russia has made it very clear they're not conceding with the land thing. And so it appears, at least in some of what I'm reading, that there's more indication potentially that, you could see the US potentially walk away. Like there was a story that hit today about, what the EU would do, like their nuclear option if the US did, with it when treasuries, I think it was, or something
Which
like
we have
that.
to say is extremely unlikely.
Okay, I'm glad you did. I was going to ask you what your thoughts were because I was like, "Oh, nuclear
I'd be
option."
shocked. I would be shocked if that's what they decide to do. But yeah, seems like someone's floated out there and gone, well, the nuclear option is to do this. And then obviously the media and the usual talking heads on social media have gone, oh my God, it's now in serious consideration. It's not
Right.
seriously being considered. But yeah, everything, obviously, if you go deep enough, everything is an option.
Yeah,
This is very much everything
that would
else
be
needs
like
to go
plan
wrong.
C, like,
Yes,
like
quite.
way at the bottom. Like this
Z
is
spot 9.
Yeah, everything is, but and so I think there are some underlying conversations of what that could look like. And so then what happens? Like what happens? Does Ukraine and Europe break away from, the US in this whole entire thing? Like,
Yeah.
Obviously you're gonna have China and India kind of supporting Russia. Like you're looking at, it could be a really interesting sort of next few weeks, I guess you could say. We are seeing Russian wheat flow slow down again to the ports. Surprise. There really isn't a ton of movement overall. They did have some strong shipments and stuff like that here over the last couple of months. So I'm not going to poo-poo it, but I struggle to see how they meet the targets that are put out there currently.
Right.
We already are seeing some other folks start to reduce the Ukraine export into, expectations. And we are hearing more about Ukraine's garbage quality. Like, sorry guys, but it's bad. Like they're harvesting corn at 30% moisture. And let me tell you, drying
I've
corn.
seen some videos, literally, like the guy's like, it's like he's wringing it like a sponge. Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough. 30, like we've dried corn from 30%. Like we've been there and it's the absolute worst case scenario. Like it's the last thing you want to do. Most folks aren't going to do it, but like if you get to where it's this time of year and you absolutely have to, but they're talking about doing it in multiple phases. And so like I cannot even imagine, like if you were to try to take 5 points off and then hold it for a bit of time and then take another 5 points off and hold it for a bit of like if you don't have proper airflow, if you don't have proper all of these things, you're going to have garbage in a very short amount of time, especially because Ukraine's been running above normal temperature wise here for a while. So like that is a double, whammy when it comes to maintaining quality. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of issues that pop up after the first of the year logistically, and folks are going to recognize why some of these cash markets are heavily inverted. And it's not because the farmer isn't selling. It's because we're not able to really meet the needs of the pipeline on the front end. And so we'll see. But beyond that, corn right now is trying to trade a little bit higher. It's up about a penny and a half. It was up a decent chunk here this morning. Beans are under pressure again. I almost feel like I just wish they would go ahead and fill that gap that's sitting down there at 1062 and get
Gap
it
and
over
go,
with.
gap and go.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we'll just get her done and move on with our lives and stop thinking about it. But we'll see. Like, obviously, that's a big drop and not a lot of fun to experience in the short term. And basically, the March board looks like it's taking over the December range, and we're just going to kind of trade it for a bit, see what happens. So yeah, that's about it. We'll get the USDA report out. We'll do the live drop. It should be a whole lot of nothing overall, when we get it, and we'll go from there. I'll have the update tomorrow. Well, give me something
Awesome.
fresh to talk about.
Awesome. Well, Angie, thank you so much. As always, listeners, thank you so much. Whatever you're up to today, keep it tight, stay safe, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Much love.
Have a good one, guys.